As Canadians, our options are a little bit limited when it comes to selecting airlines. There's either Air Canada, our flight carrier with hundreds of direct destinations across the globe, or low-cost carrier turned full-service airline WestJet, who over the past few years have expanded their footprint in Canada and abroad. Seeing as we've already made a few videos in which we reviewed Aeroplan co-branded cards, we thought it'd be a great idea to take a closer look at the best card WestJet has to offer. Welcome back to the CreditVerse channel. My name is Alian, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at the RBC WestJet World Elite Mastercard. We'll take a look at its bonus, what perks and benefits it offers, and what you can really do with the WestJet dollars you collect. First, let's talk about the bonus. Since January 2022, RBC has offered 450 WestJet dollars as a bonus for this card, 250 of which are earned just upon getting the card and making your first purchase, and the remaining 200 are earned when you spend $5,000 on the card within the first 3 months. There is no $120 annual fee waiver anymore, but it's still the highest offer we've seen on this card since its introduction. There is also no end date on the offer, so we can probably assume it's going to be around for quite some time. In the way of earning on your regular spend, you get 2% back at WestJet and on WestJet vacations, and 1.5% back on the rest of your spend. Of course, everything you receive is in WestJet dollars, so it's not like cashback where you can use it on whatever you want. You have to use it on WestJet flights. Now, the strong base earn rate of 1.5% is what's noteworthy here. Even though most other cards, even Mastercards like the HSBC World Elite Mastercard, have switched to offering more tiered structures, like having higher earn rates on dining and food delivery, maybe some on grocery or pharmacy, and then a 1% base earn rate, RBC has stuck to its guns and had the 1.5% base earn rate, which is really strong because you earn an extra 50% at places that you wouldn't be able to use a Visa card or American Express. Now, I'm not sure if I actually see this changing in the near future, as RBC wants to probably keep this card in line with its in-house points currency card, the RBC Avion Visa Infinite, which also has the same elevated earn rate on travel of 1.25x Avion points, and the base 1 Avion point on the rest of the spend. Moving into the perks section is where this card gets a little bit more interesting. As with all other World Elite Mastercards, you do get free Boeing Go Wi-Fi access, including on planes, which is pretty useful because you'll save about $10 to $15 if you're taking a WestJet flight. Unfortunately, it usually isn't good enough to do anything other than text with, and as Air Canada has already had complimentary messaging if you're an Aeroplan member, we think WestJet's going to follow pretty soon, which would really cut out the benefit of this card. There's also a couple of RBC specific perks on this card. First, you get that 3 cents per liter off at Petro-Canada gas stations, as well as 20% more petrol points when you link the two accounts. You also get 12 free months of DoorDash Dash Pass, which can save you about $120 if you were to buy it anyways. Before we get to the next set of benefits, I just want to mention that over 80% of you guys watching aren't subscribed, so if you're enjoying this content, be sure to give it a like, and while you're down there, if you want more content like this, be sure to subscribe as well. It really helps us out as it lets YouTube know that the content is really good just from the very beginning. Back to the benefits. Being a co-branded card, it's no surprise that the vast majority of perks are related to flying on WestJet itself. If you fly with WestJet often, you can save hundreds of dollars by taking advantage of the first free bag benefit on this card, in which you and 8 other travel companions can get a free first bag on WestJet operated flights. Now, if you're a family of 4 taking one round trip a year, this will save you $240, which is 2 times the annual fee of the card, and it makes it pretty much a no-brainer. Next up is arguably the most notable feature on this card. It's of course the annual round trip companion voucher. With this voucher, you can book a round trip flight for yourself, and you can add a travel companion for $119 plus taxes and fees if you're flying within Canada or the continental United States, or for $399 plus taxes and fees if you're flying anywhere else WestJet flies. This sounds like an incredible deal on the surface, but how much do you really save? Let's take a look. Starting off simple, I just wanted to see how much you would save by booking in the first band of this for $119. So I just booked a flight from Vancouver to New York City, and it was $10.66 without the voucher and about $8.47 with the voucher. That means you saved about $218 if you used the voucher, which is pretty much twice the annual fee, and it's a pretty solid reason to pick up the card if you see yourself taking a flight like this. I wanted to take this a step further though and see how it would do if I tried to book a flight to Europe. So I went from WestJet's hub in Calgary all the way to London Heathrow Airport. While trying to book this, I received a message indicating that the cost of the companion voucher would actually surpass the base fare of the ticket, therefore it would be cheaper booking without the companion voucher than it would be with it. This situation can occur when you're trying to book to a destination that has very high taxes and fees, something Europe is pretty notorious for. In my case, over 30% of the total expense was credited towards the taxes and fees, with the remaining going towards the base fare. And the base fare ended up being lower than the $399 I would have paid if I would have used a companion voucher. I've noticed that this is the limiting factor of the companion voucher. As a result, basically the more expensive a flight you book, the more you're going to save with a companion voucher. This is fairly counterintuitive to me, just because I always try to book the lowest fare possible, especially on an overnight flight or something that's 9 or 10 hours long. I don't really mind if it starts at 10 p.m. at night compared to at 5 p.m. at night. It doesn't really make a huge difference to me, so for someone who just goes for the cheapest fare, the companion voucher may not bring you the best value. Now, if you book last minute, for example, where the prices are much higher, that's where you can get much better value out of the voucher. Of course, this is by no means a scientific experiment. I'm sure there's a lot of other ways you can use this voucher to fly to Europe, but in the 4 routes I tried to find, I didn't find any substantial savings using companion voucher versus just booking without it. I wanted to give it another chance, so I moved on to Asia, where I tried to book WestJet's direct service from Calgary to Tokyo's Narita airport. The flight came out to be around $4,200 without using a companion voucher for 2 people, compared to about $3,000 when you used a voucher. In this case, I would have saved over $1,100 by using this companion voucher, which is 9 times the annual fee. That being said though, you won't find this on every single route. I think everyone and their mother has flocked to Japan this summer, as they just lifted their travel restrictions, and of course, everyone wants to go to Japan because it's a really nice place to be. Over time, as WestJet increases the amount of flights they take here, and maybe the prices become a little bit more competitive to other places in Asia, you're going to see this drop, and then you obviously won't get the same value out of the companion voucher. Overall, I'd say the companion voucher is pretty worth it. Yes, there's some cases where you're going to save nothing, but in most cases I tried, you save maybe $100 or $200, which certainly covered the annual fee itself. And then in certain edge cases, like my example in Japan, you saved $1,100, which is 9 annual fees. You won't get anywhere near this doing this with pretty much any other card. If you're a big spender, you might be able to get some solid value out of the status lift benefit of this card. For every $15,000 you spend on the card, you get $500 into your qualifying spend. Now, you can only do this 3 times, up to $1,500 into your qualifying spend, but it'll get you halfway to silver status, so you're still going to have to do a good chunk of WestJet flying, especially to get gold or platinum, but it might be worth it if, you're pretty close to the next level of status, and you won't be able to fly, so you just spend a little bit of money on the card, get that $500, and then get the next level of status for the next year. So how do you actually use WestJet dollars? As we talk about pretty much every week on this channel, points are pretty much worthless unless there's some really good redemption options you can use, and the same goes for WestJet rewards. If I'm being honest, as a program overall, I find WestJet rewards to be pretty lackluster compared to Air Canada's Aeroplan program. That's just because the points are worth 1 cent per point as opposed to 2 cents per point with Aeroplan, so it's much harder to get a whole lot of them very quickly, as well as you don't really get some really strong redemption rates on a lot of edge case bookings, specifically if you're trying to go for business class or other premium cabins. That being said though, I do really like the simplicity of redeeming rewards. Pretty much 1 WestJet dollar is worth $1 towards the base fare of any WestJet flight. There's no blackouts or anything, and you don't have to deal with the dynamic pricing gremlins that you have to do with Air Canada, so it's pretty easy. You just take $50 or 50 WestJet dollars, and you can put it towards the base fare of any WestJet flight you want to take. Doesn't matter if it's in business, economy, could be an escape fare, or like their lowest tier thing. Doesn't matter, you can use it. Another way you can save with WestJet rewards is by taking advantage of their member exclusive fares, which offers certain routes on a discounted price. In my experience, it hasn't been a huge difference in most cases, and the stipulation here is that you need to cover the entire base fare with WestJet dollars, and you can't use any cash to cover that portion. This can be pretty annoying at times if you don't have a massive stockpile saved up, as there's no cash plus points options like you do with Air Canada. On some busier routes, if there's some availability, you can find yourself saving $100 to $200, which again would cover the annual fee of the card itself. Bottom line though, is it worth it? So for people who fly WestJet at least once a year, I'd say this card is a pretty decent pickup. Especially if you fly with somebody else, or sometimes you check bags, you're going to very easily break even on this card. I'd probably actually compare it to the American Express Marriott Bonvoy card, which has that free night certificate, which is similar to the companion voucher on this card if you really think about it. Both cards I would consider as strong, long-term keeper cards, as even if you don't spend a dime on the card every year, you will break even, and it doesn't really take up a lot of space in your wallet. Now, would this be my only travel card of choice? Probably not, because I don't really have that exclusive relationship with WestJet, as I fly back from the West and East Coast pretty much all the time, and sometimes Air Canada's better, sometimes WestJet's better, so it doesn't really make sense investing all in on one travel card, being this one. That being said though, if you live on the West Coast, where WestJet has moved most of their operations, especially that they're expanding their Calgary hub, I can definitely see this being the only travel card for someone if you only fly once or twice a year with your family. Are you guys going to pick this card up? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, also be sure to give it a like. And if you want more content like this in the future, be sure to subscribe. With that, we'll see you next week.